Hi, I'm Chris and welcome to this week's tutorial. Let's draw together. In this video, we'll be creating this cute little strawberry milk container. So it's the first part of a two-part quick and cute series. So in this first part, we're going to be doing the drawing, and in the second, we'll be painting it. So if you're watching this a week after the release, you'll find the link to part 2 in the description below. So with this lesson, I'll be using brushes, swatches, and a canvas from the Illustrator starter kit, which you can find in the link in the description below as well. So it's absolutely free. And if you'd like to follow along with the exact same tools that I'm using today, then you can grab those there. Okay, so I'm using my living watercolor canvas to start with. You can see that it has this texture here. And I'm going to be using the brushes, like I said, from the Illustrator starter kit. There's a bunch in there that you can use. And I'll also be having the ballet class swatches, just sort of a starting off place to get some colors going, but we won't be worrying about that till the next video. So I'm just going to use a brown color to sketch with, and I'm going to use the sketching pencil from the Character Design Academy samples here. Okay, let's get started. All right, so first let's start with a shape. I'm just going to go and draw a square best I can and hold down my pen so I'm not moving it. You can see it comes up like this. I'm going to try to have these lines as straight as possible. And then you can see this polyline comes up. So I'm just going to tap on that and then I can edit this. So this does not need to be perfect. It's totally, just kind of get it as close as you can. So I'm just going to tap on the rectangle. So it makes it a rectangle. Then I can shift it and use this toggle in the center to change the size of it. So I want it a little bit more of a rectangle, not so square. And I also want it to be a little bit on an angle like this. So this is going down. And then I want this one to be a little bit higher, just like that. We're just trying to create perspective. So that's good for that. And then I'm just going to draw a line this way and hold it so it goes straight, right about there. This one following a similar line. And then just a line down that's straight. If you want it exactly straight, you can hold down your finger and it'll snap. So there is a little box like that. Okay, so you can see we're drawing, remember, like you draw like this to make these sort of 3D boxes. It's the same kind of thing. Okay, so then we're going to draw a triangle on top. Not too high of a peak there, just like that. Again, this is our rough sketch, so don't worry about them being exact. Just draw a line here. Should be roughly the same as that. And then we're just going to bring a line across here like that to make our little roof if this was a house. And then we're having just a little line up from here. And this is that tab part that you'd have on a carton. Okay, so we have kind of something that looks like a house, but it's not. It's our little carton. And I'm noticing that this line probably isn't quite accurate. It should probably be more on an angle like this. So I'm just going to erase that and make this more like that. So it should be more of just a subtle V, not too much, just like that. So these are coming this way, these are going this way. Then in here, there's going to be a return line, just like that. So you can kind of see it's a little bit low, maybe a little bit more like that. So that's sort of that inside of that fold. Okay, so now that we have our structure, we can just kind of go and add a few extra things. So I was thinking of my design and I was going to have some strawberries on the carton and then an actual strawberry sitting on the outside of the carton. And then we'll have a little cow here and we'll have a straw here. So let's just start with that. I'm just going to draw a little oval here and then have my straw come up and bend this way, like that. Kind of crinkles there. Something like that. Looks lovely. Just have that going on that edge there. You can just erase if you've made that mistake there. Okay, and then let's have some strawberries here. So I'm just sort of going to rough them in. So I have one like this, sort of a oval shape like that. And then we'll have it overlapping, one behind, something like that. And then you can kind of flatten the top a little bit if you want. And then we'll have sort of the little leaves, stem parts here. Just make them overlapping like that. Okay, and then come over this way too. One in behind, something like that. Okay, so while we're on strawberries, I'm just gonna sort of think about like the table would be obviously horizontal like that. So thinking about how a strawberry might lay, so just start with a circle and then bring the edge like that. So it might sort of sit, probably not quite so much like that. It would sit so that the edge is here and then come up and around like that. So the center line would be here. If you just draw a line in the center so that you can kind of see where it's sitting, and then you have all your little leaf parts here, like your little stems. Okay, something like that. Now you can erase this if you want, so you can see that coming out in front. Might actually be good to pair it a little bit. This is kind of far away, so I can just take my selection tool with freehand selected. I'm just going to draw around where this is. Just slide it in so it's a little bit more connected to our little milk carton here, so that the composition makes more sense. So they belong together. Okay, that looks better. Perfect. So now let's draw our little cow. So let's just raise it. Going to be on an angle and just sort of popping up from the bottom. So I'm going to just draw a little shape like this. Very rounded rectangle. Maybe a little bit bigger at the bottom where his cheeks will be. Like that. And then his little body, he's going to have his arms up. Like this. I'm just going to move him over. It's hard to position when you're doing this inside the box. Kind of bring him over here so I have room for his other arm. So little arms like that. And his body goes wide because he's a cow. And I want it to be nice and chunky. Okay, so that's his basic shape. So let's just add some details. We'll have his little ears coming down at the side. Little horns up there. Okay, and then let's draw his little face. So just do a little half oval down the bottom. 2 dots for his little nose. 2 dots for his eyes. We'll give him little cheeks here, I'm sure. Lovely. Okay, and then why not put a little bell on him? Draw a little shape like this, a little oval, just subtle, not too open, but just so we can see that it's a bell. Okay, and then we can just do a little pattern on him, so I'm sure we'll give him, again, this is our rough sketch, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but we'll have a little dark spots here, you have a little spot there, you know, just sort of to break it up a little bit. Something like that. Okay, lovely. And then maybe we'll have some hearts flying up because he loves milk. All right, something like that to fill that in. Now you can resize him if you need to, again, just by going back to your selection tool, just drawing around him. And if you just want him to fill the space as best you can. So if you need to size him up a little bit, you can try that. Okay, So we're gonna have to do some writing. I'm just going to, let's see, just write strawberry. Hopefully you have nicer writing than me because writing is not my forte, but do our best. I'm just gonna do it rough right now. I'll try to take a little bit more time when we do it, but if you're a hand letterer, this would look even better. Draw a little strawberry, maybe we'll have one in here. It's a teeny one, something like that. I might extend that. That looks a little bit short. So again, take your selection tool with the arrow. And I'm actually going to change the free form so I can stretch it. Just like that. So that allows me to not do a uniform. So if we're doing a uniform, that it all gets bigger, and I just want to stretch it along. So free form will allow me to do that if you just use this toggle here. Ugh. Stops doing that. Just grab the blue toggle and just stretch it. Just so it's more like 3/4 of the way down on that tab there. I think that looks a little bit better instead of being half. Okay, and then here we're gonna just say milk. So I'm just gonna draw myself a little, just so we get it in perspective, because of course we don't wanna draw or write milk like this. Like that would look weird. It has to go along, like follow the plane. So I'm just going to draw myself a little bounding box almost. So just following these lines. So I won't write outside of that. So then we can write milk like this, all on the same angle. Okay. All right, so that is our basic sketch. I can go and erase here too and just sort of add where I'd want my stripes. If you want to mark that out as well. So have them kind of curving around to make that straw look a bit rounded. And then, we'll have the jaggities there, the little accordion bit. And something like that. Okay. I think that's pretty good for a sketch. That's all we need. So you can just size it up if you want. Just use your arrow and the toggles. Oops, I see it. I have it on freeform still. So change back to uniform so it all scales up, all as it should. And you can just position that on your canvas so you're happy there. All right, so there's our little sketch. So now we're gonna go and turn the opacity down. So tap on the N, just drag that slider down to where you're comfortable. You can still see it, but it's not going to interfere too much. We can create a new layer on top, so we're ready to start our final sketch. Okay, so I'm going to continue on just with this sketching pencil. Just use the same thing. You can use whatever color you want. I'm going to just be using this brown here. It's just sort of a mid-tone brown, just for the outlines. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to just actually make some thickness here. So just have that, because that wouldn't be one line, it would have a little bit of thickness to it. And just outline what we've done. I'm not having my lines absolutely perfect. I like to have them a little bit, just having that actual drawn look, not super mechanical. I'm gonna give it, again, a little bit of thickness there, so 2 lines. This will have 1 line because it's a seam, of course. Same with here. Okay. And maybe have your edges kind of rounded so it's not too sharp. Just a bit of a soft edge. Actually, I kind of want this to be a little bit thicker just because it's the bottom, so just going to give it the weight there. All right, and we're just making sure everything's matching up. Okay, so that's good just for all those simple outlines. So make sure that this is curved. Obviously, we'll want to make sure that this is a rounded shape and that these are all working. So just do a little bit of a zigzag here, just zigzaggy like that, and then just draw some lines in, and that creates that, just this sort of folded look here. Okay, and then bring your line down and just a nice rounded edge there where it's coming out. Perfect. So we can draw our lines on here too. Just have them curved around a little bit. Try to make them evenly spaced somewhat. Okay. Good stuff. So let's do our strawberries. So with our strawberries, they're not going to, I'm going to have them a little bit more of a wiggly line, just to show that they're more of an organic shape. And then here we'll just, actually I do want this going over here because it's the top part and this is kind of leaning back. They're not, you're not seeing them forward, they're sort of more tipped back. So you'll see the front of the strawberry first and then the little leaves. And you can make, you know, nice little line in there if you want. Like that. So I'm just going to do the same thing, just give these subtle little wiggles. When I'm doing these lines, I'm doing light pressure and then heavier pressure as I go down to the bottom to make it a little bit thicker there. Maybe this one will have one here too. Okay, so that looks good. I'm going to add one more detail to the side of the carton here. Just take a line, and this will be, this will make more sense when we actually do all the colors here. But right now, just sort of having this milk, sort of, maybe sort of a liquidy, if I can do a nice smooth line, sort of a liquidy sort of effect here. So have it kind of go in behind there. So we'll have one side white and one side pink, something like that. Okay, let's do this strawberry. Let's have it a little bit wiggly. All right, and these guys. I think with the seeds, I'm going to actually do that when we color it in and have them light, just to have a little variation so it's not all dark. So we'll leave them without the seeds for now, and we'll move on to the cow here. All right, so we're just going to outline him. Just make sure his horns aren't too pointy. They're just, you know, want to look kind of cute. Actually, I don't like how they're curving it. Maybe more sort of straight up, so it's not, doesn't look so mean. All right, little ears. I'm not actually going to draw in his little cheeks because we'll color those in with pink, so we don't need to draw them. All right, let's do his little details here. I think I'll outline them and then we'll color them in. Okay, and last we'll just do our lettering. Now, I'm just trying to think if I want this a color or if I want it to be in the brown. Just gonna do this outline here. Let's try to make my lines even. I'll have this little strawberry here. I might have this in white, so maybe I'll just leave it there like that and make a decision on the milk as we color it, so we can kind of see when we block it in with color how that will turn up. So for this part, I'm gonna just turn this sketch off. I think that's good to leave it for today for this video, and the next video we will continue on and paint this and finish it up. So if you like this video, give it a like and subscribe and hit that bell icon so you'll be notified of part 2 of this video as soon as it comes out. And if you're totally new to Procreate and would like to learn more, I have a full free class that covers everything you need to know to get started. Every little detail. We walk through all the what all these little buttons are, the whole menu, how to import, how to do a bunch of projects, and learn through doing. So you'll find the link to that in the description below as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.